Another fun week of motorsports. Alex Bowman announced he'll retire from full-time NASCAR competition after the 2027 season, saying injuries, family, and life beyond racing influenced his decision. Meanwhile, Corey Heim keeps making history, winning the Brickyard 400 to earn his second Cup Series victory, despite only a part-time driver, being a part-time driver. Joey Logano says NASCAR will be battling Heim for years to come, and it's hard to disagree. In Formula One, Lando Norris picked up a huge victory at Hungarian Grand Prix, while championship leader Kimi Antonelli extended his points lead heading into the summer break. One generation is becoming a step away, while another is already taking over. Let's start in NASCAR. Alex Bowman announced retirement plans, while Corey Heim keeps rewriting NASCAR history. This week was featured major headlines both on and off the track, starting with Alex Bowman, who announced he'll retire from full-time NASCAR Cup Series competition after the 2027 season, citing health concerns, family priorities, and a desire to step away while he is still in his prime. Meanwhile, Corey Heim continued his remarkable rise by winning the prestigious Brickyard 400, becoming one of the sport's brightest young stars. Formula One also wrapped up the first half of the season with Lando Norris claiming a victory in Hungary. So let's start with the NASCAR Cup Series. Alex Bowman is going to retire.
Yeah, Alex Bowman's going to be retiring after next season, not this season. There was one of the biggest off-track stories that came out this week, a week on Thursday, when Hendrick Motorsports announced that Bowman will return for one final full-time season before retiring. Bowman said his decision is not performance-related. It is instead years of injuries, including multiple concussions. He had to sit out, I believe it was most of last year, because of concussions. He's broken his back. A frightening vertigo episode earlier this season, which also kept him out of the car, have convinced him that it's time to prioritize his long-term health. The 33-year-old also wants to focus on starting a family with fiancée Chloe Henderson, and admitted the emotional toll of racing every weekend has become difficult to manage. This departure leaves one of NASCAR's premier rides open, with Trackhouse prospect Connor Zilisch already viewed as the leading candidate to fill his place in the number 48 car, which also got some news this weekend, as Jimmie Johnson plans his final race to be next year's Daytona 500. Hendrick Motorsports is going to allow him to use that number 48 that Alex Bowman currently uses. So what does Bowman do now?
Another car up there. I'm sure Hendrick can go get another number somewhere.
I believe they still own number 25. I believe, unless they just do a straight up number swap, 48 for 84 for a week. I'm not sure, but that's a February 2027 problem right now.
Yeah, Hendrick Motorsports is like, see how many numbers that they own. They might have some. I would imagine they probably have some alternates. Maybe
I think that it's not necessarily like that. You really only own the numbers that you run. Again, I think 25 has been an alternate of theirs for years. That drivers like Brad Keselowski's driven the number 25 when he first started. So I'm not sure which numbers they do own. They used to own 88. That's Trackhouse now. They started building their brand with number 17. That's Roush now. So I'm not sure which numbers they have licensing for that aren't the numbers that they already have.
Yeah, they have it on here. So I guess the likely alternate, according to the reports, is they are going to give Bowman the 25. So Bowman in that race will race the 25. It's historically been one of their numbers.
Yes.
But they don't have any alternates because NASCAR does not allow any alternates. You only get 4 full-time cars. But that's going to be interesting to see next spring, obviously, for Jimmie Johnson. I think for a lot of us here in San Diego that like the ties to Jimmie. And him being back in the 48 is going to be special.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's going to be at Daytona doing that will be very remarkable. But let's talk about the current chase. Corey Heim gets another victory, captures the Brickyard 400, continues to make history. The 2311 Racing driver captured the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, earning his second Cup Series victory of the season, despite running only a part-time schedule. Heim used a perfectly timed restart to take the lead from co-owner Danny Hamlin, who was just over 30 laps remaining and never looked back. Logano praised Heim afterwards, saying NASCAR will be racing against him for years to come. Pretty remarkable season he is having, even though he's on a part-time schedule.
Yeah, part-time schedule, Cup Truck Series champion last year. He's gotten 2 race wins in a very, very short amount of time, and they're 2 very, very big race wins as well. The Brickyard 400 is a crown jewel staple race for NASCAR, and also here in San Diego to get his first career win in a never done before fashion and style race. I mean, he has won 2 of the biggest races that you could imagine here so far already this in his young career. So he is a guy, he's a kid who's built for the big time moment for sure.
So Heim got the victory, but that doesn't mean there weren't voices from drivers complaining about, the next gen car. Passing remains an issue at Indianapolis. Several competitors, including Joey Logano and Carson Hocevar, said passing for the lead at Indianapolis is nearly impossible under green flag conditions. How do you read this situation?
It's a problem with the aerodynamics of the car. A lot of it has to do with the front splitter. So the splitter's basically used as kind of like a front wing in an Indy car or a Formula One car. And when you get a lot of dirty air on that, it just straight up doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So when you're going through a corner and you have a lot of dirty air coming to this second car, and that splitter just stops working, you just start to drift up the track. You get aero tight, is what it's called. And when you have two very distinct corners at each end of a track like Indianapolis, followed by a long straightaway, what you would do is you would use that second corner to try to build up a run to get speed on the guy in front of you to use down that long straightaway to be able to make the move going into turn 1 or turn 3. You can't do that in this car. You're kind of just stuck riding because you can't get that run on the guy you're chasing. So it makes it really, really hard. And it's unfortunate because Indianapolis had another race back in 2008 where they had to call competition cautions every 12 laps because right rear tires were blowing at an alarming rate. So they called a caution every 12 laps. All the teams had a chance to change tires and then get back on. So Indianapolis had a very, very bad rap over these last couple years for racing series that are not IndyCar. This is not an Indianapolis problem. This is a NASCAR next-gen car problem, and NASCAR can fix this instead of just jettisoning the track off the schedule.
Championship picture has now shifted after this weekend. Kyle Larson's difficult summer continued after blowing a tire, speaking of, and crashing out early, extending a lengthy winless streak. Chase Elliott also struggled after hitting the wall early, finishing near the back and extending his streak without a top 10 finish. Meanwhile, Todd Gilliland completed one of NASCAR's biggest upsets by defeating Ryan Blaney to win the NASCAR inaugural in-season challenge, earning his team a $1 million prize. We'll talk about what NASCAR is doing coming up. But let's talk about Formula One. Lando Norris wins in Hungary. Formula One entered its summer break with Lando Norris earning his first victory as reigning world champion at Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, Norris used a longer middle stint and smart strategy to leapfrog over teammate Oscar Piastri during the pit stops before controlling the race to the finish. Piastri looked capable of challenging for the win after before losing time in traffic and eventually retiring with a gearbox failure. Had a run-in with the Williams of Carlos Sainz as well. Max Verstappen finishing second despite battling an ill-handling Red Bull throughout the weekend, and Charles Leclerc inherited third after Lewis Hamilton received a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Pit road speed at the Hungarian Grand Prix, the Hungaroring, 80K. Lewis Hamilton clocked at 80.1.
Brutal. NASCAR heads towards the final stretch of the regular season. Drivers continue fighting for playoff positions. Formula One now begins its annual summer break before returning for the final push toward the World Championship, where Antonelli, Norris, Verstappen, and Hamilton remain firmly in the title fight.